The good folks at Comics for Fun and Profit have been doing 2 episodes a week for quite some time now, and it's all thanks to, first of all, Jason, and second of all, our patrons who allow us to add the space on our server, broadcast more, store more, share more with you, the listeners. I'm envious of those of you who have unlimited storage and media server capabilities. We pay for ours here at the C4FAP. It ain't cheap. We thank you so much for those of you who go to patreon.com/comicsfunprofit and contribute at any level to say thanks, to say, I want to be a part of your Slack channel conversations. I want to get exclusives. I want to get early access. I want to get ad-free access. I want to get swag. I want to get some free stuff. Whatever your reasoning is, we appreciate it at any level because it does make a difference. So from the bottom of Kyle and I and Jason's heart, thank you for contributing. Are you missing six-man co-host Mike Myers? Well, you don't have to. Go to dcnoisepodcast.com and explore all of Mike's podcast universe, including my favorite, Mike M's Weekly Reads, to stay up to date with Mike's personal reading list. You got Geek Brunch, a bi-weekly celebration of geek culture with Mike and Bill Bomer, where they dish about comics, movies, TVs, and even food sometimes. You got DC Noise, focusing on Mike's favorite publisher, DC, Collector's Corner, DC Everything Else, another favorite of mine, and Geek Brunch Retro. So feel free to go find Mike at dcnoisepodcast.com.
Aloha, it's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing a friend of the podcast, comic book writer Adam Rose. Adam is here to promote his latest series, Huge Detective. Now, this is a 5-part miniseries from Titan Comics. The first issue comes out on August 7th. Adam, welcome back to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
I am great, and I really appreciate getting to be back on with you. And one quick little note for you there. I'm sorry I didn't tell you before. It's now the first issue is going to be out August 21st because we just had the excitement of having Paul Pope do a variant cover, and we wanted to give him time to get it all done. So, I'm blown away that we have Paul Pope on doing a variant. So this book means a ton to me. It's been something I've been working my butt off for years now, and I appreciate being here to talk to you about it.
That is so nice. And for him to do a variant cover for this series, he's perfect for it.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm thrilled to have him on. It's really cool, and just even talking to him a little bit, and he's really enthusiastic about this book, which means the world to me.
Off the cuff question: how did you guys get Paul Pope to do a variant cover?
Great question. I just have to thank Titan, the editors and the publisher. They really got behind Huge Detective in a huge way. Pardon the repetition there. And they've just found these amazing artists to come in to do these variants. Diego Yapur, Clint Bintner, all these, some amazing people are just on board for variants for all 5 of the issues. So they're the ones that did all the hustling for this.
Oh, that is so nice. Adam, thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you very much. That is so cool. Okay, I'm going to continue on. So listeners, Adam has been on the show. I just want to quickly go over his background. Adam, please feel free to correct me at any time. So, Adam is a screenwriter. He also wrote, I'm going to try to pronounce the title of your comic book, Corollary, from Source Point Press.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great book. That is.
Thank you.
And also, too, you wrote Playground, Attack of the Gurgle Bots. That's a graphic novel from Marcosia Entertainment. Thank you very much. And I'm going to say, because I know the last time you were on the podcast, you mentioned that you're writing just a one-shot comic book. Was it for Tidal Wave Comics?
Yeah, it was like a Greek myth comic. I mean, I think it only maybe came out digitally. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
sure, but yeah, it was just a fun little one shot. That was a blast. And and I guess as far as it's funny you called me a screenwriter. I definitely have written screenplays and whatnot, but I feel like more than anything in the last 5 or 6 years, it's all about comics for me. I mean, I do still jump into this script world of course, but I comics are my like number one like
Hmm.
writing like passion and what I'm just putting my all into.
Hmm.
And Huge Detective is kind of the most recent sum of all that. I mean, Corollary was a lot of fun with Source Point Press
Yes.
and getting that all collected. And that's I think when I got the first chance to talk to you.
Yes.
Now, yeah, this is just I can't wait for it to roll out. I'm gonna get to be at San Diego Comic Con
Hmm.
with Titan, but it won't. It's a little early as far as the actual. We won't have the comic available, but
Hmm.
I'll just get to be there and meet some people and hopefully get to talk to people about what's coming.
Hmm. That's nice. So, Adam, I'm sorry because I'm going to let you know that when we put this episode up, it's going to be like a week or two after Comic-Con. So, yes,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no
Yeah.
problem.
So, yes, but but I will put the word out that you will be at San Diego Comic-Con. Yes.
Great.
Um, Also too and I'm sorry, this is going to be a little bit off the cuff, Adam, because listeners, you know, Adam is Adam has his, I guess, his manager next to him, just relaxing. So, Adam, what's the name of your dog?
My my dog's name is Boss, which was inspired by that Wes Anderson animated movie Isle of Dogs.
Oh, okay.
And there was a little guy in that looked kind of like Boss.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a rescue. We just got him from a pound in Inglewood. He was
Mm-hmm.
born there,
Mm-hmm.
and he spoke to my wife more than anybody. She's the one who kind of met him there and said he's the guy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. I know, listeners, I know this is an audio podcast, but right now it's on the screen. I can see Boss just like hanging out, just chilling. But if once in a while, if you hear him, just bark or something, he's just probably going to tell Adam, don't spoil this, don't spoil Huge Detective. No, no, you know.
That's right. No spoilers.
All right. And also, too, I want to thank, Adam, I want to thank you very much for the advanced reading copy of issue number 1. It's a great issue. It is. Um, okay, so where can listeners follow you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram. My name is at Shazam Cap. So Shazam and then CAP.
Mm-hmm.
And Twitter, I'm Adam Rose 74. Or no, I guess it's not called Twitter, X.
Doesn't
And
I still call it Twitter? Don't worry.
yeah, Facebook, Adam Harry Rose, I believe is all you got to do for that one. And I'm actually in the middle of building a website. I'm finally getting off my butt for having kind of a comic writing centric website for people to see all kinds of stuff that I got cooking up here. So that I'm looking forward to having an announcement about that being ready for people to come check out.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. All right. So, Huge Detective. Now, I've, just looking up some information. The series is described as, quote, Chinatown meets the BFG. Now, for listeners, and Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. So the BFG, that was like I think like a Disney movie. Is it the Big Friendly Giant? Is that what it's?
Yeah, so yeah, and before it was the movie, it was the novel or the YA novel by Roald Dahl,
Mm-hmm.
who did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Twits, James and the Giant Peach. He's known for a lot of like twisted fantasies, like
Mm-hmm.
dark, edgy kind of fantasies that were for kids. But he's also, and I'm a big fan of his literary kind of adult fiction,
Mm-hmm.
which also like is where I kind of took this. Like, so BFG, yeah, that's good for all ages,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a darkened twist on that idea of a world of giants and humans.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what's the story about?
So in the forefront, you brought up the movie Chinatown, and that is because this is a mystery. It's a noir. It's a
Mm-hmm.
detective noir in the world of a fantasy and science fiction kind of realm, because it isn't fantasy like medieval times or whatnot or Tolkien. It's in a world like ours where there was this Omega event 30
Mm-hmm.
years ago that where the huge re-erupted into our world, and there was a war, and in the end, instead of mutual assured destruction through us using nukes and them just eating everybody, we gave them Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 30 years later, where our story begins,
Yes.
there's a murder, or maybe more than one murder. We don't know. And the only witness slash suspect is a human who thinks he's a huge.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
he has a lot of emotional, psychological challenges
Mm-hmm.
that I take respectfully and seriously. I want
Yes.
to make sure listeners understand that I am not flippant with using any terminology, but he is someone that is battling some issues of his own. But he's convinced that he is a huge, and
Mm-hmm.
he'll only talk to one to answer questions about what he might know.
Mm-hmm.
So our detective, huge Detective Giant, he's
Mm-hmm.
our first huge to be allowed on human soil since the Omega event. And there's where it's kind of like I equate this to the 90s movie and TV show Alien Nation,
Oh yes.
where you have two cops from two very different worlds, and they don't like each other, and there's a lot of stereotypes, and even beyond that, like the trauma, the
Mm-hmm.
scars of the war from 30 years ago that everyone is still feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, obviously I have lived through, just as yourself, we've lived through our own traumas and scars of all kinds. Of course,
Yes.
we all have our shared ones of the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
and other things, but I'm bringing a lot of myself to this, where these two people at the forefront of this, yes, they're trying to solve a murder, but they're also trying to come to terms with their own biases
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
healing by understanding one another.
Yes. Going back to the Omega event, because I believe correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like either the first 3 pages. I love it where, and your artist, and you said the color, your artist, Magenta King is also did the colors too.
Yes, he insisted. I can't believe I haven't brought him up yet, because he is my co-creator on this. Yeah, I wrote this whole thing, but
Yes.
when I got him in on this, and he was a dream come true to find like a unicorn of getting
Mm-hmm.
an artist on board with me. We just were in sync from day one. We've been having Zoom meetings. He lives in South America. We've been having like Zoom meetings
Mm-hmm.
like almost weekly for the last like 2 or 3 years working on this to get it where we want it.
Mm-hmm.
He normally he does just do his inks, his pencils, but he felt so strongly about the vibe for this being something he also wanted to tackle with the coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And he did, this kind of sepia tone, gritty, washed look for those early pages
Yes.
to indicate that past, that Omega event from 30 years ago that everybody lived through.
Because as I told you before we started the interview, I love that because it's a nice little homage to like the old black and white Godzilla movie, the original. And I love it because you can differentiate. It shows this is what happened in the past. And it was just like I said, it's just a nice homage of this is what happened. This is also too, this is what the because also too, this is because correct me if I'm wrong, because I think they also too is like the huge also had to they were like sort of like transports too, right? There was some way where they
Yes.
worked out that that the humans and the huge they worked out where okay, we
Yes.
can do this for you guys, and
That was
that
a
was
compromise. Yes, that's
yes.
right. And those panels from Magenta just blew my mind. I got chills seeing how he was able to capture the huge as transport for humans. Because
Yes.
at that point, up until where our story starts, even though yes, that was an olive branch extended between these two groups, they were never allowed on human soil up
Mm-hmm.
until now. they could transport, kind of like docking at, like right at a port,
Yes.
but that was as far as it could go until now.
Mhm. And then let's see. Um, so I know, like you mentioned, that you and Magento have been working on the story for the past 3 years. How did you come up with the story? Yeah, I mean, you've already mentioned that, Ronald Dahl was, a little bit of an influence, but like, were you just, you know, yeah, so like, were you just sitting around one day, go, what if?
Well, it's funny because I think something similar happened with Corollary. I guess maybe because I am a writer. Sometimes, of course, I love reading like actual books to my kids, but sometimes I just kind of riff with them in their room with their lights off.
Hmm.
And I think the germ of this story came when I was just making something up about a giant and a little girl when I was telling a story to my daughter Caroline. Um, and then I just left her room and I was like, "Oof, I want to go in a dark, twisted way with this. That would not be a story for Caroline, but a
Uh-huh.
story for, comic book adult loving, well, 13 and up, let's say.
Yeah.
13, I would say this is 13 with parents' permission,
Hmm.
because there are some pretty intense, violent scenes in it. But yeah, so I think the germ of it came from just a little kind of story that just popped into my head, and then it just got dark, and my influences not only of like BFG or Chinatown, but also like shows like True Detective,
Yes.
The Mayor of Easttown.
Hmm.
There's just I've been very in a lot of 70s noir. I've been in the like another hobby of mine, or maybe I guess not even more than a hobby, because I feel like I'm studying these movies. I've been just diving into a lot of 70s noir type films
Yes.
that really just help me kind of enrich the worlds I'm creating.
Oh, okay. All right. Um, I'm now I'm just asking this one question. Was like one of the influences from that Japanese manga series, because
Attack on Titan.
it came out, I think, like in 2010, I can't remember. Attack on Titan. Was
So,
there a little touch to it?
I can't consciously, I can't say yes,
Okay.
but subconsciously, of course. Just like, I mean, I seen Attack on Titan? Absolutely, I love it. My son, I think, got me reintroduced to it because he started watching it and reading it. So there's definitely got to be that influence,
Hmm.
as well as other kaiju. Like you brought up Godzilla. I've been a Godzilla fan since I was a little kid. Creature double features.
Oh, yes.
I had the big. I wish I still had them. The big original plastic Godzilla whose hand could fire.
Yes.
I mean, oh, it was a gorgeous toy. So I have been around these bigger than life characters forever,
Hmm.
and bringing back Magenta King, he did Jenny Zero, Dark Horse comic,
That's right.
which was all about kaiju, and that's where I saw his work and knew I had to like try to pitch him. I didn't
Hmm.
even know. I just kind of reached out to him, and luckily he was on board from the get go. So Attack on Titan certainly must have some influence because yeah, that's an interaction between these terrifying giants and humans. Though my huge are a little more um, intelligent, I think.
Yes. No, yes. And yes.
Yeah,
And the other thing too, how about we talk about your characters and I'll tell you because yeah, like who are your characters? Like you already mentioned, Detective Giant, you know, um and
Tamaki.
and you mentioned and my mind just went blank. You're his partner in this murder mystery. So
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you're dealing with any character that's fantastical, like Detective Giant, they're still grounded in an emotional, psychological world that your reader can relate to and understand.
hmm.
And both Tamaki and Giant have, there's parts of me in both of them. They're both
Hmm.
And obviously, but they took a life onto themselves with this, and their relationship really kind of came on the page more than anything. Like what I'm trying to say is like they started kind of talking to each other, and I was just kind of along for the ride. And
Yes.
we're going to find out a lot about both of them. They both have these compulsions, these addictions that they're battling,
Yes.
and both of them are not trusting, especially with what you will slowly see unpacked about their pasts.
Okay. Because I was gonna say in the first issue, because like you mentioned that they're kind of like they're not really trusting to each other, but for some reason, to me, the Detective Tamaki and Detective Gyant, they it seems like they fit together. It's like, but they have their issues, but it's kind of like it's almost like a mutual, sort of like a mutual respect for each other,
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. That means a lot to hear because
you know.
that was the intent. That's what
Yeah,
I want. Yes.
yes. And then when you mention about they have certain addictions, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I love it when, I see Detective Giant. It was like, oh yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. I'm not gonna say what he has, but yeah, I think you know what I'm pointing. I was
Yes.
like, oh, that's interesting. So, can I ask about who is Manny? Can we talk about that character?
Yeah. So Manny, he's a complicated character. And we're gonna find out a lot about who else is involved with Manny later. He's the one that either is the main suspect slash witness to
Yes,
this
yes. Hmm.
horrific crime in Belter's Cave, and he's also schizophrenic and dealing with a lot of uh, personal challenges with his own psychological health,
Hmm.
and he maybe not as a coping mechanism. I don't want to say too much.
Yes. Hmm.
Is convinced that he's a huge
Hmm.
when for all appearances he is a human. But that's the other beauty, because just like you, I love comics so much
Yes.
as a creator and a reader, and
Hmm.
something that I want, I always want to play with and experiment with the form. So there's a moment, this is not a big reveal or anything, but it says something about Manny, and it says something about what the magic of what you can only do in a comic. And there's a moment with him and that he's like, because he thinks he's a huge, he wants to make everyone else look small, and he's
Yes.
kind of looking. And you brought up, and I love that you brought up that note in your questions about kids in the hall, where like you're making everything look small and you're
Yes.
squishing them. Yes, of course. I mean, was that a direct homage to that? 100%. Yes.
Hmm.
And I didn't know any. Good for you getting there, because absolutely. But also, was it what the form as far as just the perspective that you can play with in a comic, and Magenta
Yes.
is so good
Hmm.
at being able to do that with this.
Hmm.
So it's all there with Manny.
Because and like, I'm not gonna spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. The other thing I love was how Detective Tamaki, how she talked to Manny. She respected him. She respected what he was going through, because like you mentioned, Manny thinks he's a huge. And I love it because, like you said, Magenta is kind of like, because at first I'm kind of going, is Manny a huge? I was trying to figure this out, and it's like, and and it's great because I'm trying to think, okay, is he huge? Is he not huge? Okay, and then, but I love how she respects him. She's trying to communicate to him because she's trying to solve a case. But the thing is, she's trying to go where he's at.
Yes.
That's the thing I love.
It's a tightrope. This whole series, this whole story is walking on a tightrope.
Hmm. So, all right. Um, so how did you team up with Titan Comics on this series for this series?
So I've been loving the books they're putting out, and I mean, the fact that I think I really wanted to try to pitch to them when their announcement a few years ago about getting with Jim Zub and Conan the Barbarian.
Hmm.
And I've been liking their Blade Runner and Doctor Who books. I mean, they're just all these amazing IPs, and then they're also doing some more creator uh, work. And I reached out to them with this. I had Magenta on board already.
Hmm.
They loved the pages we had. They loved the concept,
Nice.
and they've been incredible to work with.
Hmm. That is so cool. That is great. Um, One thing I forgot to ask you, off the cuff question was, um, character designs for the Huge. Did you guys, like, was it set in your mind that you wanted to make, like the huge humanoids? Did you guys go back and forth on that?
Oh yeah, no, they always in my head were human,
Hmm.
not humanoid, I should say.
Yeah.
But Magenta, he really kind of pushed the boundaries of it,
Hmm.
where like they do have there are differences, there are physical, distinct differences between them and humans,
Hmm.
but still they're so close to us.
Yes.
And on top of that, we've talked so much about wanting the richness of this world to be seen, the history of this
Hmm.
world to be seen. Like if you could read this more than 3 times, and you will find little moments. I hate to use the phrase Easter eggs, but I guess kind of are,
Hmm.
as far as just little bits of references to the Omega event and just how much this entire world has been through with
Hmm.
this interaction of huge and human.
It's interesting that you point up about the world you guys created, because the other thing is just with this first issue, you know, not only are we introduced to Detective Giant, there a glimpse of the Omega event. Because when I finish reading this, I'm kind of going, I still want to know what this world is about. That's the feeling I guess. Like, uh, this the mystery and so forth. You know, that's part of the story. But I just want to see what the world is about. That's great.
No, I appreciate that so much. And the when the issues do come out, another thing that Titan was cool enough to let me do at the end of each issue, there's a case file, which is kind of like a mini short story
Nice.
that some of them take place during the Omega event, some of them take place more recently, but they do I have, and Magenta's ready too. Like if this book can be as big as we are hoping it will be,
Hmm.
we have so many more stories to tell.
Oh, that's gonna be nice. That's really gonna be nice. Um, let's see. Are there any, do you want to give shout outs to the rest of your creative team?
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
DC Hopkins is my letterer, and he
Yes.
did corollary for me as well. He's just a pro. I mean,
Hmm.
he's very patient because there are times like I'll like realize, oh, you know what? Maybe we gotta like just take out one word here or something, even when I think everything's totally done. He understands how to just be patient and put out the best possible product. And lettering is such an important part of this.
Hmm.
And he's able to capture the personalities of these different characters through the styles of lettering that he uses. So it's been great having him back on.
Hmm.
And like I said, Magenta is the color. He does the coloring. He's doing all the drawing. He's my co-creator on this. He's been incredible. And then we got Jake and Duncan and Will at Titan, who have been like just huge supporters and beyond helpful and just getting everything rolling here.
Hmm. Oh,
So
okay.
it's a great team.
That's great. And I'm going to say thank you very much for sharing that, and I'm hoping that this becomes a huge hit at Titan. So, because I would love to see more stories too.
I appreciate that.
It's going to be great. All right. What was the most fun or exciting thing that you love working on this current project?
Wow. I mean, I do love just writing it, but I guess seeing the pages from a Magenta,
Hmm.
I'm not exaggerating. I mean, I just think he's such a talent, and seeing what he's come up with,
Hmm.
in those early days, and even recently, he just showed me the final colored versions of issue 2, and my jaw was kind of on the ground because that's the other thing. This book, again, this is a comic for comics, meaning you can't do this in a lot of forms and a lot of different visuals. I mean, yeah, you could, but my point is, like, just seeing like Detective Giant in these situations where he looks like he's crammed into a space.
Yes.
When a human would have all the room in the world. So just a sense of claustrophobia in a space that for you or me would be more than ample. Like, just playing with all of that. It's been so cool to see come on the page from Magenta.
That's pretty cool. That's nice. Thank you. Now, listeners, I don't know if you heard Boss kind of growling a little bit while Adam was talking, and Boss is just going to go, be careful, no spoilers, no spoilers for issue 2. You know?
Oh boy.
All right. So, listeners, I know when this interview goes up already, San Diego Comic-Con would be over already, and as and I'll be promoting on my Twitter feed that Adam will be at San Diego Comic-Con and so forth. Adam, any other store appearance in the fall, like in later August
question.
or?
Yeah, I am hoping to do one at my local store for the release of issue 1, Comics vs. Toys in Eagle Rock, which is in LA. I'm also hoping, Golden Apple has said
yes,
they'd love to have me, so I'm hoping to get there. But I don't have a firm date for that yet. And then this isn't definite, but I'm working really hard on Magenta and myself being at New York Comic-Con.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That would be amazing. We're working on it, so it's not official, but I'm hoping to get to say something about that. And then, because it's in my backyard, I'll definitely be at LA Comic-Con.
Oh, that's going to be nice. Just thank you very much. Any closing words to our listeners?
I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you having me on again. I think, I read too many little columns and news reports about the state of comics, but I think if people are making what they love, and if they make it for comics first and foremost, and they're true to whatever story they want to tell, that I hope that's what I have here with Huge Detective, that people are going to try it. Yeah, it's not one of the big two. It's something different, and trying something different is just the medicine we all need.
Oh, yes. Adam, mahalo. Thank you for giving me another opportunity to interview. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I also want to say thank you very much for making comics. Thank you very much. Thank you. I wish you all the success with the Huge Detective series, the series. Listeners, if you are a new comic book fan or a lifelong comic book fan who loves, crime mysteries and also world building too, please check out Huge Detective. Now, the first issue comes out on August 21st.
Yep.
And what I love about the first issue is I love the relationship between the Detective Tamaki and Detective Giant, and also too, it's just a nice I want to see what else does this world have to offer. It's just great. I just want to
Gonna blow your mind.
Oh, okay, all right. Now, I want to thank Drew, the Codes of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Thank you.
Our LCS is Cowabunga Comics out of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, and their mail order company, Deep Discount Comics. And we went there, and we were actually invoice number 00001. We were the very first their very first customer, which was kind of cool. They've been nothing short of fantastic, customer service wise. Discounts, they were very close, if not the same or better than DCBS on a lot of things. Over and above, customer service wise, always taking care of us, going the extra mile, so responsive, getting instantaneous responses back to questions about things, and to the point where knowing the stuff you like and anticipating your needs and having it suggested that you might want to add this to your order already before you even have to think about it. That's kind of cool. Really quality experience. So we love working with Cowabunga and Deep Discount, and that's why they're in our show notes every single episode and have been for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes. That we leave them there because we like them. They're cool, good people. That's why they're in there. By God, they'd tell you to, if you've got a local comic book shop that you love, stay with them, because everybody needs to support their local comic shops. But if you're looking, check them out. You can check them out in the show notes. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of them. Either get on their list, just so you can check and see what kind of FOC and pre-order stuff they have and the discounts, and they'll send it to you each month, get you on that email list. And you can check out their shop, because they have a great shop of exclusive Cowabunga variants. Amazing stuff. Yes, they've always been there for us, and we take them for granted. So there you go. Now you know.